Well, a ho 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 and a merry almost Christmas to y'all. Well, it's not quite almost Christmas. What is it? December 18th as I record this. So we're still a good week away from Christmas. I think it's on Saturday this year. That's pretty cool. But we're going to have a Christmas themed podcast here. But first, I want to get through some quick news stories that I saw over the week. And the majority of the time we're going to spend on the January 6th text revelations that have been released over the last week. I believe the former Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, released some text messages that shed some light about what was happening behind the scenes for a lot of Republican senators, congressmen, and a lot of Trump family members and whatnot. But anyway, let me pull up the story here. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki. I never know how to pronounce her name. It's Psaki. Is it Psaki or is the P silent and it's Saki, or is the S silent and it's Packy? I have no idea. For the sake of this, I'm going to call her Jen. She's a piece. Pasky on Tuesday said text messages between Fox News host, that's always scary, and former President Trump's chief of staff, the Meadows jabroni, were disappointing because they showed the hosts expressing concern in private, but spreading lies and conspiracy in public. So that basically sums up Fox News. Expressing concerns in private, but spreading lies and conspiracies in public. Jen Psaki continued. Is it Psaki? It's really bugging me. It's disappointing and unfortunately not surprising that some of the very same individuals who are willing to warn, condemn, and express horror over what happened on January 6th in private were totally silent in public, or even worse, were spreading lies and conspiracy theories and continued since that time, she told reporters when asked about the newly revealed messages at a briefing. Unfortunately, we've seen a trend from the same individuals, she added. The records show that Fox News hosts Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, and Brian Kilmeade all pleaded with Mark Meadows on January 6th to get Trump to quell the violence at the Capitol. Mark, President needs to tell people in the Capitol to go home. This is hurting all of us. He is destroying his legacy, Ingraham texted him. Hannity asked whether Trump could make a statement and ask people to leave the Capitol. Please get him on TV. Destroying everything you have accomplished, wrote Kilmeade. The hosts went on to minimize Trump's and his supporters' role in the violence on their programs, however, instead condemning the insurrection and pointing to actions from other groups. Ingraham, for instance, went on her program and suggested, without evidence, that the attack was perpetrated by members of the left-wing group Antifa. From a chaotic Washington tonight, earlier today, the Capitol was under siege by people who can only be described as antithetical to the MAGA movement, Ingraham said on her show on January 6th, according to the New York Times. Now, they were likely not all Trump supporters, and there are some reports that Antifa sympathizers may have been sprinkled throughout the crowd. Fucking lion-ass hua. The messages were among dozens that Meadows received from lawmakers and staffers amid the violence on January 6th, according to the committee. The records showed that Donald Trump Jr., the president's bastard son, also pleaded with him to get Trump to publicly disavow the violence. We need an Oval Office address. He has to lead now. It has gone too far and gotten out of hand, Trump Jr. wrote in one message. Oh, fucking Fox News. And you know, maybe I make too many comparisons between Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC, and sometimes that may paint the picture that I think of them as equally bad. And although both are bad, Fox News is way worse than MSNBC and CNN, obviously. Obviously. I didn't think that needed to be said by me, but maybe some clarification is needed. So, Angelo Grosso's opinion, in the terms of awful shit that has ruined our grandparents, our parents, and is in the process of ruining our generation of people in the press, it goes CNN is third worst. And then there's kind of a leap off to MSNBC, but then there is a chasm. I'm talking giant chasm. The bridge of Khazad-dûm and the Mines of Moria from the Fellowship of the Ring gulf between MSNBC and Fox News. It's not even in the same stratosphere. So Fox News is poison. It has been for decades and it's only getting worse. But this isn't about Fox News. This is about documents that have been released by Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows. Let me read some more shit about it. It's been almost 1 year since the January 6th attacks on the U.S. Capitol. Side note, some people are predicting there's going to be an anniversary. I highly doubt it. Look what's happened over the past year. Everyone that's been there, or for the most part, most people that have been there have been arrested and charged, and some of the early arrestees have already been starting to serve their prison time. So I don't think there's going to be an anniversary. And plus, with all the heightened security, I don't think so. But anyway, this week proved there are still significant pieces of the puzzle the public does not know about the horrific, deadly events and the days leading up to it. The special House committee investigating January 6th revealed the existence of a PowerPoint presentation shared among former President Trump's team that laid out strategies for keeping the 45th president in power, including having him declare a national security emergency and having former Vice President Mike Pence halt Congress's certification of President Biden's victory. Treasonous. I don't understand how Donald Trump and his family aren't tarred and feathered as we speak. The January 6th panel also disclosed a flurry of text messages sent by key Republicans to Trump's ex-chief of staff, Mark Meadows, begging him to convince the president to call off the violent mob of his supporters. The bombshell development suggests that the January 6th committee, comprised of 7 Democrats and 2 Republicans, has only begun to scratch the surface in its investigation into the planning and root causes of the insurrection, why reinforcements were not quickly dispatched once the violence began, and the security breakdowns at the Capitol. And so let me go over some of the key takeaways that I got from these text messages. Subpoenaed this week was a man otherwise not on the radar of many, a retired U.S. Army colonel and distillery owner who helped distribute a PowerPoint on plans for January 6th and who briefed lawmakers on the plans for the day. The committee on Thursday demanded testimony from Phil Waldron, who was among those present at the Willard Hotel War Room for the Trump campaign and appeared to play a key role in pushing forward the strategy to contest the election. Among the details released in the committee's contempt report for Meadows is a reference to a January 5th email regarding a 38-page PowerPoint titled Election Fraud, Foreign Interference, and Options for January 6th. It's a document this week is called a alarming blueprint for overturning a nationwide election. According to the committee, the PowerPoint was meant to be provided on the Hill ahead of Congress's certification of the election results. It recommended a briefing for lawmakers on baseless claims of foreign interference in the election and other countries' alleged control over voting machines. The title alone relays the extent to which the Trump team was preparing for a number of scenarios for contesting the election, while Meadows' receipt suggests it may have been reviewed at some of the highest levels of the White House. The PowerPoint starts with false claims of irregularities in the election, calling for injections that could be used for fixing the vote. It lays out options to Pence to reject state electors or seat Republican ones in states where quote-unquote fraud occurred, as well as delay certification of the results to allow for a supposed recount. It also calls on U.S. Marshals to secure ballots, while the National Guard would be responsible for recounting them. Among the recommendations in the PowerPoint were for Trump to declare a national emergency and say that electronic voting in all states was invalid. Jesus Christ. I mean, this isn't just what a king does, it's what a fucking dictator does. That detailed correspondence with another line of inquiry by the committee, which subpoenaed former Trump NSA advisor Michael Flynn, as well as Trump's top 2 officials of the Department of Homeland Security, following a White House meeting to discuss plans to seize voting machines and equipment. Waldron told the Washington Post that he spoke to Meadows maybe 8 or 10 times, but said he did not email the PowerPoint directly to him. He did, however, acknowledge that he briefed several members of Congress on the plan during a January 5th meeting in a congressional office, but declined to name the other participants. Well, that's what I would like to fucking know. Waldron was working alongside John Eastman, also subpoenaed by the committee, who crafted the memo laying out options for contesting the election, including having Mike Pence buck his ceremonial duties of certifying the election results. While Eastman plans to plead the fifth, wussy pussy little bitch, Walden's extensive and revealing interview with the Post suggests he may be more talkative than some others subpoenaed by the committee. The committee this week also released numerous text messages sent to Meadows to suggest the plan laid out by the Trump campaign and those such as Eastman and Waldron not only resonated with Republicans but left them encouraging the White House to follow through. Numerous text messages sent to Meadows shows ideas about how to block the election were flowing from Trump's inner circle to Capitol Hill and the GOP back to the White House as they mulled how to undermine Biden's victory. Oh, fucking Jim Jordan. Probably one of the worst people that are in this government. He's a Republican from Ohio. He is as traitorous, treasonous, and cunty as it comes. Here's what Jim Jordan texted. On January 6, 2021, Vice President Mike Pence, as President of the Senate, should call out all electoral votes that he believes are unconstitutional as no electoral votes at all. Jordan's office confirmed that he sent the text but said it was forwarded from a lawyer he was corresponding with and not drafted by Jordan directly. Who the fuck cares? Like, that really means anything? Mr. Jordan forwarded the text to Mr. Meadows, and Mr. Meadows certainly knew that it was a forward. Yeah, go fuck yourself. While Jim Jordan's office suggests it was not an endorsement of the plan, the text still leaves a sitting member of Congress relaying encouragement to White House officials to pressure the sitting Vice President Mike Pence to buck his ceremonial duties to certify the election. Treasonous, treasonous, treasonous. Another text the committee attributes to a lawmaker also called for interference in several states where Trump fell short. Now, we don't know who sent this text, but it's believed to be former Trump Energy Secretary Rick Perry. Here's an aggressive strategy. Why can't the states of Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and other Republican-controlled state houses declare this is BS, where conflicts in election not called that night, and just send their own electors to vote and have it go to the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States? CNN has since reported that the text was not from a lawmaker, but from former Trump Energy Secretary Rick Perry. Again, tar and feather that bitch and kick him out of the country. After the riot, another text from a GOP lawmaker lamented that the plans to contest the election will not ultimately successful. Ooh, if I had to pick who could have sent that one, my money's on Hawley, Marjorie Taylor Greene, or Bobbert. One of those three cunts. Yesterday was a terrible day. One unidentified GOP lawmaker wrote, "We tried everything we could in our objection to the 6 states. I'm sorry, nothing worked." These are sitting government officials. This is ridiculous. For the better part of a year, prominent conservatives allies have followed Trump's lead and downplayed the violent rioters who attacked police officers with bear spray, flagpoles, and baseball bats. They've been described as peaceful patriots, normal tourists, and victims. But as mayhem and violence erupted that January day, text messages show a trio of popular Fox News personalities, GOP lawmakers, and even Donald Trump Jr. were frantically trying to reach the president through Meadows to have him stop the attack and send his supporters home. He's got to condemn this shit ASAP, the president's eldest son texted Meadows. It has gone too far and gotten out of hand. I've already read some of this. Fix this now, one GOP lawmaker texted Meadows. It's really bad up here on the Hill, a second unidentified GOP lawmaker told Trump's chief. The desperate pleas from Trump allies revealed how shocked and alarmed they were by the violent siege and how they recognized the political damage it could do to Trump's legacy. What legacy? And how they seemed to believe that Trump also had the power to stop the attack and order his loyal supporters to go home. All urged the president to take action because they understood that the president of the United States had a responsibility to call off the mob, Rep. Liz Cheney, vice chairwoman of the January 6th panel, said in a floor speech. Hours passed, and despite this, without any actions by the president. So, pretty big shit going on. I don't care if you're a Democrat, a Republican, progressive, libertarian. I don't give a fuck. This should upset and horrify everybody. Sorry, I just had a burp. It's one thing to play partisan politics and just go against the other party just for, the all-important political points. But to actively try to destroy democracy, to actively try to tell people their votes did not matter, and in fact, it was fraud, which, now that it's been over a year of election audits, and I think the Associated Press just released their findings saying there is no evidence of any kind of voter fraud on any kind of scale. And in fact, the mass majority of the cases of voter fraud were actually people voting for Trump. So what does that have to tell you? It was all a lie. A bunch of desperate, sad, depressed people believed it. And now look what happened. I truly believe that the mass majority of those January 6th insurrectionists or rioters, whatever you want to call them, I believe the massive majority of them were just low IQ people. But, like Donald Trump said, I love low IQ people. And a lot of them, I don't know if they were all there mentally. How many chromosomes were they missing? And how many of them truly thought, well, I think Donald Trump lost, but fuck all this. I want to break in and cause some mayhem. And what's really disturbing is how many of those people there were former military and former police. And you just have to wonder, are we too cracked and broken to be fixed? I think we can be. But we have got to rid ourselves of the stank of the Trump family. They're not, they don't deserve this kind of attention. Their moment of spotlight has already been done, but we keep forcing them to keep going up there, I think. I don't know why the Trump family still resonates with poor working class people. I understand why the Trump campaign or the Trump family, whatever, why it makes sense to some people, predominantly racists, sexists, or just people that have been out of touch for a few decades. That should only be who agrees with the Trump policies and their ideologies, but that can't be more than 20% of the populace. But the fact that it's basically 50-50, that's how much distrust and, well, I'll just outright say it, hate the mass majority of Americans have for the government, regardless of who's in power. There's just no trust. And why should there be? But to put all your eggs in the Trump basket is so fucking stupid and naive. But maybe that's how you succeed in America, Snake oil salesmen have always done a good job of stealing people's money. And you could always make the argument, well, why do those poor suckers give that guy any money to begin with? Couldn't you tell that this person was selling you fucking garbage? Well, apparently not. Some people's lives may be so awful, or they may be so ignorant, and maybe education has failed them so badly, or lack of parenting, or who knows, nature versus nurture, you know what I'm saying? That they are just willing to believe anything. And if someone in a higher authority tells you one thing, you just have to rebel because, well, I don't like that answer, what they just told me to do, so fuck all that, I'm going to do the opposite. I remember rebelling against the man, but then that was a teenager, and then I became, a man, an adult, and I realized, oh, not everything that, the higher powers or the people in control tell you is wrong. You just got to have half a decent brain in your head to realize who's bullshitting you. That's what they maybe should teach in school. There should be a bullshit class. How to tell if you're being lied to. Oh, that'd be amazing. But anyway, that's all the news I really want to talk about. Well, there is a little fluff piece that I can get into that right now. Why not? And then we're done with the news. But before I get into that, I'm going to finish off this J I've been smoking here. This is an amazing strain. This is from Fire Bros, which is one of my favorite dank suppliers. And this strain is Danny Deweedo. And considering I'm a huge Danny DeVito fan, in fact, I'm just catching up on the latest season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Spoiler, it's fucking hilarious. And I'm also enjoying some Trader Joe's Eggnog, which for my money, again, you know how much I love dicking down Trader Joe's. For my money, they make the best eggnog. It comes with French brandy and spiced rum. It's good as is, especially on the rocks. And what I like to do is add a little bit of cinnamon. That's what I'm enjoying right now. So let me go ahead and light up this Danny Deweedo and we can get going to how Kim Kardashian maybe deserves a little bit more respect from your boy here. Ooh. Yes, I have been quite critical of her. In fact, the whole Kim Kardashian, or not just her, but the whole Kardashian family, and why, for whatever reason, this country in particular holds them in such high esteem. Because they really are just rich, beautiful people. And is that all you need to do to have success in this country, is to be rich and beautiful? Well, now that I think about it, yeah, that's a good start. But anyway, the reason that I've been a little critical on her is that I haven't really done my due diligence on her. I had no idea that she's been trying to become a lawyer. And I just heard a couple days ago that she passed the baby bar exam. So let me go ahead and pull the story up here. Kim Kardashian has cleared a key hurdle in her unconventional quest to become an attorney. The reality television star and entrepreneur said Monday on Twitter that she passed California's first-year law student examination, a day-long test required of aspiring lawyers in the state who are not taking their traditional path of attending an accredited law school. She tweeted, "Oh my fucking God!" No, I'm kidding. It's OFGGGGG. I passed the baby bar exam, all in quotes. She wrote to her 70.7 million followers, posting photos of herself posing in a bright blue jumpsuit. Like, I give a fuck. But yeah, I'll look it up, see how that booty looks. For anyone who doesn't know my law school journey, know this wasn't easy or handed to me. Passing the test, better known as the baby bar, means Kardashian can continue her legal studies and will be able to take the full bar exam. She said in 2019 that she was studying to become a lawyer through what is known as the Law Office Study Program, in which would-be attorneys train under the supervision and tutelage of an experienced lawyer or judge. California is among the handful of states that have such a program and is the only one with the baby bar. Pass rate information was not yet available for the 26th exam that Kardashian took, but only 21% of those who took the exam in June passed. Less than half the rate for the state's most recent regular bar exam. So maybe she can't just suck dick and sell shit well. She's also a pretty good student. The State Bar of California on Monday said baby bar results are confidential and it could not confirm Kardashian passed. Well, I don't think she would lie about that. Kardashian, whose father was Robert Kardashian, OJ's defense attorney during his 1995 murder trial, had previously said she wants to become a lawyer to work on criminal justice reform. That's why I like her now. I have a little bit more respect for her. I don't know if I can say I like her. Maybe I should take that praise back, but I don't dislike her anymore. She is studying under the supervision of attorneys Eric Haney and Jessica Jackson, whom Kardashian thanked on Twitter, saying they had brought her along to observe their court appearances. Kardashian also noted she had failed the exam 3 times before passing. You know, I respect her even more now because, you know, she's already famous. I mean, one of the most famous people on the planet. This isn't just a hobby. She's not just doing this, you know, for likes. She actually has devoted some time and energy to this. And the fact that she failed multiple times and still proceeded through, I mean, she must really want to do it. It's not just a stunt. So, again, respect rising for her. That made this her final opportunity. Oh, you can only take it 4 times. California typically allows people to take the first-year law student examination just 3 times, but gave anyone who failed the June 2020 exam 1 extra try due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Oh, so if you failed and during a pandemic, we give you another chance? I don't know if I like that. I'm so happy for her, said University of Washington, local, law professor Steve Calandrio, who tutored Kardashian on contracts via Zoom to prepare for the test. She has worked so hard for 2 years now. It is not an easy exam. So some of you may be thinking, well, is this really on the up and up, or did she kind of be lifted because of who she is and what her name recognition is? But to quash those ideas, I did a little bit of research here, and I said, well, I remembered she did something when Donald Trump was in office, and she fought hard to get somebody out of prison. I couldn't remember any of the details, so I decided to look some things up. And I have found everything that you need to know about Kim Kardashian's criminal justice fight and achievements. So the first person, well, really, her first success in the legal world was with Alice Johnson. The now 65-year-old Alice Johnson was arrested for drug trafficking charges in 93 and was convicted to life imprisonment without parole. While serving her sentence, Alice became a grandmother and then a great-grandmother. She never got a single behavior violation and worked hard at the prison's hospice center. Alice began pleading for her sentence to be commuted, but she didn't have any luck until Kim Kardashian heard her story. In 2017, Kim Kardashian met with Jared Kushner, and the two underwent long talks with President Trump. This is the one that I remembered. Eventually, Trump agreed to fully pardon Alice Johnson, and she got to walk free. Eventually, with the help of Kim and President Trump, Alice Johnson was able to recommend 3 other women she was incarcerated with who also got their sentences commuted. So that's already a massive success. Kim Kardashian also teamed up with CNN's Van Jones to campaign for the First Step Act, which is meant to support re-entry into everyday life for released prisoners and reduce mandatory minimum sentences. With Kim Kardashian on board, the act was noticed by President Trump, that's probably not all he noticed about Kim Kardashian, and was approved by the U.S. Senate. Thanks to the passing of this act, she was able to collaborate with attorneys on the 90 Days to Freedom campaign, which freed 17 prisoners who had been given life sentences for non-violent drug charges. Matthew Charles was one of the first inmates to be released thanks to this act, and Kim tried to help him find housing by paying for his rent up front. And she also tweeted about it. Matthew Charles's lease application was rejected again because of his criminal record, even with me paying his rent in advance. If there are any landlords with a 2-bedroom in Nashville willing to give Mr. Charles a second chance, contact Durga. Serious inquiries only, thank you. I mean, that's fucking huge. Someone of her caliber doing this. Another success, Jeffrey Singer. Kim Kardashian funded and worked with lawyers attempting to free Jeffrey Singer. The inmate had fallen prey to the 3-strike rule that requires anyone who is arrested 3 times for any drug charge, including drug possession, to be sentenced to life in prison. Ridiculous. Thanks to the First Step Act, a judge shortened Jeffrey's sentence and he was released in 2019. He was greeted by his loving family, and Kim tweeted that we did it again. He served too much time, but it gives me such joy to find this life-saving work. Other released prisoners like Centoya Brown and Slam star Mamulu Stewart have also thanked her for advocacy in shortening their sentences. And this is the last one I'll go over. Rodney Reed was scheduled to be executed in Texas on November 20th, 2019. However, evidence discovered right before his execution suggested that he was innocent of the murder he was accused of. Kim Kardashian reached out to Texas governors pleading for him to do the right thing and stop the execution. She and civil rights groups fought hard and won. Rodney Reed's execution was blocked and suspended indefinitely by the Texas State Court of Appeals. Kim has continued to fight for other inmates who are facing execution unfairly. And this is a tweet where she was thanking Governor Greg Abbott, which, hey, I'm not sure I loathe the governor in this country more than Greg Abbott, but he did the right thing there, so I commend you as well. Even though she isn't officially a lawyer yet, this article is obviously written before she passed the baby bar, Kim Kardashian has already helped many who fell prey to the predatory criminal justice system in America. In fact, she receives hundreds of letters a month from inmates looking for her to help with their cases. It looks like when Keeping Up with the Kardashian star does pass the bar, her focus will stay on criminal justice reform and helping innocent people get released from prison. I mean, I applaud her. And I do have a newfound respect for her. I can dislike everything about her TV show and all that bullshit and how she markets her bullshit that's made in sweatshops and whatever. But solely for what she's doing for the criminal justice reform, I gotta give you applause. I gotta give you an applause. So, but with that, we're done with the news. Let's talk Christmas shit, baby. Now, I don't know about y'all, but at least in the Angelo Grosso household growing up, we associated Christmas with Christmas movies. And it kind of became a tradition where we would watch the same movies year after year. In fact, I think I've already done a podcast where I spent some time talking about some of my favorite Christmas movies, and I can do that again, but I'll just go pretty quick here. But that's kind of how I still have that nostalgic, emotional response to Christmas. It's the decorations. Sometimes it's the music. It's definitely the food and the booze. In fact, drink up your eggnog, ladies and gents. Ooh, I got some of my mustache on that one. But another big part is the movies. So, in no particular order, here are my favorite Christmas movies. In fact, I will say my favorite one at the end. Batman Returns. Yeah, motherfucker, that's a Christmas movie. The Nightmare Before Christmas. Debatable. Debatable. However, I believe that The Nightmare Before Christmas is both a Halloween and a Christmas movie. Ironically enough, it is not a Thanksgiving movie. I mean, that Gobble Gobble Day is overrated in my opinion anyway. Christmas Vacation is a classic. In fact, you could watch that year round, but that is a dank Christmas movie. Scrooged, more on the dark side, but it was one of my favorite Christmas movies growing up, and it didn't age all that well in my opinion, but I still like it. Gremlins, of course, another 80s Christmas classic. In fact, that may have to be bumped up on my list a little bit. Die Hard, of course. Lethal Weapon, debatable. I don't think Lethal Weapon's a Christmas movie, although it does take place during Christmas. Die Hard, I go back and forth, but now I say it's definitely a Christmas movie. Edward Scissorhands, again, is it really a Christmas movie? Christmas has a lot to do with the movie. Actually, does it? It only has anything to do about it in the ending of the movie. And this eggnog got me tuned up. So you know what, Edward Scissorhands? I don't think you're a Christmas movie. Even though I love the movie, I devoted half a podcast to how much I love that movie. What, a couple episodes ago? The Polar Express? Overrated. Jingle All the Way? Fuck yeah, I love that movie. He got number 2! Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad. Oh, what was the Action Hero Man? Wasn't he called Action Hero Man? I don't know. That little shit kid who later would play Anakin and ruined his life. That poor fuck. Bad Santa. That's an adult Christmas movie, although I watched it as a teenager. I love that shit. In fact, it's one of my favorite movies. Well, let me rephrase. It's one of my favorite comedy movies of all time. And I would say probably top 10 Christmas movie. Home Alone? Yeah. That's a pretty good Christmas movie. The Preacher's Wife? Yeah, that's a home run, baby. I mean, it's a little Christianity preachy, but you know what? Denzel's good in it. Whitney's good in it. The music's good in it. And, it's a good family movie. But, of course, my number one movie is A Christmas Story. That is a movie that, to this day, I watch at least twice during the holiday season with each of my parents, because both of my parents love that movie. It's a rare instance where they both can agree on anything. Growing up, we owned it on VHS and then on DVD and Blu-ray, but we would still watch it on, was it TBS or TNT that would play it 24 hours a day on Christmas? I don't remember. Come here, Eggnog. You thought I forgot about you? Woo, I ain't feeling rosy-cheeked, baby. You know what movie's overrated? Elf. It's a fun movie, but it's kind of stupid. I don't know why it has such a cult following. And I've tried. I've watched that movie like 4 times. I don't know. Maybe I should watch it again. Maybe the 5th time's the charm, but I think it's overrated. The Holiday, overrated. I watched it last year with an ex-girlfriend, and I was excited to watch it. I was excited to see what all the hubbub's about. And, it's really shallow. And I'm sorry. Kate Winslet and Jack Black, no. Jude Law and Cameron Diaz, I get. But the dialogue is awful. The acting is awful. Everyone just phoned it in on that movie. And can you blame them? Love Actually. Now, Love Actually, I may have to give another chance to, because I only saw it once. And I didn't like it. I thought the whole thing at the end with the guy making the sign, I thought he's stealing his best friend's girl. Isn't that the movie? Is that what he's doing? Love Actually. Yeah, I need to rewatch that. Maybe I'm being too dramatic there, but I distinctly remember watching Love Actually. I kept waiting for it to be good. Alan Rickman was good in it, but it just never clicked with me. But I did watch it when I was in college. Maybe I was just too judgmental back then. Anything too popular, I would revolt against. So maybe I had to give that one a better shot. So yeah, I think this year I'm going to try to watch some classic Christmas movies. Ones I have not seen before. Most of them are going to be older movies from like the 50s and the 40s, and there's some pretty good Christmas classics there. But you know, it was interesting. Maybe it's because what content I consumed growing up on television and movies, but the family-friendly PG rated stuff that a lot of you were probably raised on, I wasn't raised on that stuff. And so when I would watch, say, Miracle on 34th Street, I was bored as hell. I remember thinking, this movie sucks. And what's the other one? It's a Wonderful Life. I was like, it's too cheesy. Where's the violence? Where's the nudity? Where's the humor? Where's the slapstick? That's why I kind of liked the Scrooged movies, the Bad Santa movies, Jingle All the Way, A Christmas Story, all those movies, because there's kind of a realistic sense of humor to it. Also, it's outrageous, and there's when you're young, you like bad language, and all those movies have some pretty good scenes with bad language. And in fact, Bad Santa, that's pretty much all that it is. Oh, Billy Bob Thornton, that was the role you were born to play. Oh, and Bernie Mac, god damn, I love that movie. Speaking of movies, we're going to take a detour from Christmas for a moment. I saw two movies. One was the latest Spiderman movie, and I will go in depth about that in a second. But first, I want to talk about a movie that I comfortably say is in the top 50 all-time favorite movies for Angelo Grosso. Dare I say it could possibly crack the top 30. And that is the 1991 film Thelma and Louise. I love that movie. I've loved it ever since the first time I watched it when I was a young kid. I've seen it probably 6 times. Counting this most recent one, it would be 6 times. I watched it with Kiwi because we were both watching the Simpsons episode when they were spoofing Thelma and Louise, one of my favorite episodes. And I asked her, hey, have you ever watched Thelma and Louise? She had no idea what the movie was. And I said, ooh, if you ever want to watch one of my favorite movies, let me know. And I told her a little bit about it. She was interested. And I said, let's pop that baby in. And that's what we did. And it did not disappoint. First off, I will say that I don't think it's a perfect movie. Dare I say, not even close to it. In fact, it has a lot of not so good elements to it. I would say the overabundance of wild music throughout the movie, it really takes away a lot of the emotion in some scenes. And some of the editing is kind of bunk. And just a flow. So overall, I'd probably give the movie, out of 1 to 10, I would say it's got a solid 8. But with decimals in play, and even if I'm nitpicking here and there, I would still say it's easily an 8.5 out of 10. I love the fucking movie. And for those of you that don't know what Thelma and Louise is, let me pull it up here and read you the little synopsis. 2 best friends set out on an adventure, but it soon turns around to a terrifying escape from being hunted by the police as these 2 girls escape for the crimes they committed. It stars Gina Davis as Thelma and Susan Sarandon as Louise. And I've been told that it's strange that I, a white man, find this movie so good and that I hold it in such high esteem. Maybe it's because I watched it with my mother and she liked it, and I watched it with my sister and she liked it, and I was raised primarily by 2 women. And I would watch it with my father, and he did enjoy the movie, but he also was saying, good God, I'd like to grab Gina Davis. And by the way, my father's not wrong. Gina Davis is hot, hot, hot in that movie, but I'll get to that in a minute. So, it's from 1991. It's 2 hours, a little over 2 hours. Surprisingly, it did quite good at the box office, considering it's a strong feminist movie from 1991 that portrays every male character as the villain in one way or the other. And one that I never caught up on until this most recent viewing was how they were painting the Harvey Keitel character. He played, I believe, a sheriff or a deputy or detective or some shit. I never quite understood what he was doing. He definitely worked for the police. But the other men in the movie, Michael Madsen plays Jimmy, who is a on-again, off-again lover, boyfriend of Susan Sarandon's character, and Christopher McDonald, better known as Shooter McGavin from the Happy Gilmore movie. I love that fucking movie. He plays Thelma's really piece of shit husband. And of course, there's a bunch of other male actors that fuck him over one way or the other. The most well-known being Brad Pitt, playing JD, the young, sexy, heartthrob bank robber, which I don't know who's more attractive in this movie, Gina Davis or Brad Pitt. I mean, I would give them both mustache rides. But this, of course, is the movie that launched Brad Pitt's career. He really hadn't done much up until then. And even though he wasn't one of the stars of the movie, he definitely was in probably 20% of the film. And he was a love interest of Thelma, Gina Davis's character. And there was a very infamous sex scene where, even though I've watched it, again, 6 times, it still made me steam up a little bit. I had to clean my glasses, and fan my shirt and go, ooh, is it getting stuffy in here, or is it just me? Because Gina Davis, but Brad Pitt, so you can't go wrong. And I believe Jeff Goldblum was married to Gina Davis at this time. I wonder if he was jealous, because Brad Pitt, good God. Especially in 1991, Brad Pitt. I don't know how old he was, but ooh, he looked like he was chiseled out of marble, like a Adonis or something. Really, he looked like a Roman or Greek god. I think if you hold up Thelma and Louise's Brad Pitt up to any iconic hot male actor, Brad Pitt would win it hands down. I mean, that may be the most attractive man in any film ever made, ever. And Gina Davis in that movie is a close second. Anyway, Thelma Louise isn't just about 2 hunks smashing uglies. It is a sisterhood movie. It's all about camaraderie, friendship. And for a movie in 1991 to show how broken everything is for women, regardless of their race, marital status, nothing, it does not matter. It deals with some heavy issues like rape. And again, for 1991, knowing what kinds of movies and what the climate was, regardless of the movies, it's a brave movie, and you need to respect it on those merits alone. I hope they never remake it. It has one of the most iconic endings in film history, I would argue. I don't want to give anything away, but if you haven't seen the movie by now, I don't know what's wrong with you. I thought you liked America. I hold Thelma and Louise in high esteem. Both Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon were nominated for Best Actress. They did not win, however. And when I found that out, my head exploded, and I thought, who the hell was better than either one of these 2 actresses? And I looked it up. And do you know who beat them? Do you know who beat them in 1991? Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs is a tour de force. I mean, Anthony Hopkins was better, and he won as well. I mean, they both won, which is pretty cool. And that was another movie I'm going to watch with Kiwi. She's never seen it before, and she likes spooky horror movies. And I thought, you know what? Silence of the Lambs is one of the most acclaimed horror thriller movies. And it's really rare to have a movie that's considered a classic that has that much gore and violence in it. But I've seen Silence of the Lambs a few times, and it holds up. Same with 7. I love 7. But God, those movies are hard to watch. It really takes a toll on you. Of course, the physical gore and violence, but also the emotional and mental violence in those movies really takes a toll on you. It's kind of like war movies now. It's hard for me to watch a war movie because it just seems so mindless. Just having these nameless people just getting mowed down in pink mist, and you're thinking, well, shit, this movie's based on real events. Even if it's Hollywooded up a little bit, that still happened in one way or the other. But anyway, we're getting off topic. Thelma and Louise, it's a goddamn masterpiece. And Brad Pitt and Gina Davis, oh my God. I am surprised that when they were filming that sex scene, that the heat and the bright light from those 2 hot bodies combining into one didn't just shatter the area around them and create some kind of black hole of fucking sexiness that just sucked everything in. Brad Pitt should have been put up there to be marveled at for an eternity. I don't know how you could do that. You would have to take like a a plaster mold of him. Like, they didn't know how hot he was in that movie probably when they were filming it. But it would have been nice if they realized, Ridley Scott directed this movie, by the way. It would have been nice if he said, you know what? I'm onto something here. This is something legendary. Look at his abs. Look at that fucking dick ab muscle that goes between your hip down your cuck, and you kind of have that straight line. And just the way that he was talking and that southern twang and his arms and shoulders and his fucking face and hair and his ass. And you just knew that he had a piece underneath them jeans. A real hog, you know what I'm saying? And not the ones that are in Texas devastating that area. I'm talking the metaphorical hog. And Gina Davis, oh my God, she is so hot in that movie. Well, I forgot what my point was about Thelma and Louise. Oh yeah, watch it if you haven't seen it yet. It's an excellent film. But yeah, Spider-Man, No Way Home. Good God. Let's get into it. Spoiler free. At least I'll try my hardest to be spoiler free. All right, let me just take a moment. Let me just take a deep breath and just calm myself so that I don't get so worked up and emotional and dramatic when I talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. Or Far From Home. Whatever the fucking Spider-Man movie is called. No Way Home. It was everything I wanted it to be. And more. My only nitpick is they really made Peter Parker one dumb fuck in the beginning of the movie. Same with Aunt May. They really made them idiots. Some of the decisions they were making. But without those dumb, moronic decisions, the movie would not have been as good as it was. And I don't think this is a spoiler, but just in case, you know what? Skip this whole part of the podcast if you haven't seen the latest Spider-Man film, because I'm going to try my hardest not to say anything that's going to spoil it. However, some things I say may give something away. However, I will say my other nitpick is that Doctor Strange was not as much a part of the movie as I thought he would be. He was an important part, but he wasn't an integral part of the film. I won't go into the specifics of who showed up from the other Marvel movies. You know, the trailer gave that away. You know, they showed Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus, and you heard Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin laugh, so you know that something to do with the multiverse is happening in the film. That's all I'll say about that. I'm not going to go into the plot details or who shows up and who doesn't. So, purely as a movie, it is the best blockbuster I've seen in a couple of years, probably the last few years. It's the best Marvel movie I've seen since Avengers Infinity War. I liked Endgame, I liked Shang-Chi, but Spider-Man No Way Home is far better than them. And I will say it's the best Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, standalone film, I should say. It really, really was epically good. It was... Again, like I said, everything I wanted to be and more. There was a bunch of amazing cameos from other films. I'm not going to give anything away. The post-credit scenes are, so good. The ending, I'm 50-50 on. I'm going back and forth on it because it makes it really question what the hell did I just watch. But just, the story and the acting and the action was amazing. They made some characters that kind of had a shitty character arc from other films. They fixed a lot of that. And just, you know, the people they brought back brought their A game as well. I was concerned that some of them were coming back just for a paycheck, but they delivered. They delivered. And the payoff is well worth the ticket, I would say. Again, my nitpick is they really made Peter Parker and Aunt May and his MJ and Ned real nincompoops in some of their decisions. That bothered me a little bit. And I have heard other people say the first 20 minutes or so of the film is kind of slow and it drags it down. I disagree. I think it just keeps building up these characters that we've seen basically grow up through the last few movies. And I understand we're talking about made-up characters and a made-up superhero universe, but god damn it, I love these movies. Don't take it away from me. So I say, if you're concerned about is this movie worth the COVID protocols? Is it worth the expensive movie tickets? Is it worth the risk of leaving my house? I would say yes. I had to show my vaccination card. Although once you were in, nobody was wearing a mask because nobody wants to watch a 2.5 hour movie in a movie theater with a mask on. Let's be honest. And I had a few drinks ahead of time with my buddies. I brought my vape pen in and lit up the bathroom before I went in. Oof, just an excellent film. And in fact, I have to watch it again because I really enjoy Infinity War, but I need to watch this movie a few more times. I may end up liking it more, and I may end up saying it may be a top 5, top 3 Marvel movie that I like, up there with Winter Soldier and Thor Ragnarok. Now, is it the best Spider-Man movie? Now, that's a tough call because I still think Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is not only the best Spider-Man film, but one of the best, if not the best, superhero movie ever made. The animated movie, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, is equally good, and it's a technological breakthrough in the style and the animation. I mean, that movie is a masterpiece, and it really did something new to something that you didn't think there could be a new kind of Spider-Man film. There's been so fucking many of those movies. But I put Spider-Man No Way Home right up there with those two, and it's going to take me a while to determine what actually is the best Spider-Man movie now. Is it Spider-Man 2? Is it Spider-Verse? I have to watch this a few more times, but I can honestly say that I was expecting an A movie, and that's exactly what I got. I still say the best movie I've seen this year has been Dune. Dune was a orgasmic experience. Dune number 1, Spider-Man number 2. I will be seeing a bunch of movies coming up now since it's going to be Oscar season. So, ow, I just bashed my finger. So we'll see if maybe that Paul Thomas Anderson movie, something Licorice Pizza. I'm really excited to watch that. I'm excited to see the Nightmare Alley movie with Bradley Cooper and Cate Blanchett and directed by Guillermo del Toro. And there's a few other movies I'm excited to watch, but as pure blockbusters, I will say Dune is still number 1 because it was so much more than a blockbuster. Spider-Man No Way Home is exactly that. It's a blockbuster. So go see it if you like America. If you support the commies, don't watch it. Let's see. But with that, I think we can wrap up here. If you guys are still looking for something light and easy that involves the holidays, I would say do what I did and go to the Cougar Mountain Zoo up in Issaquah, Cougar Mountain. I took Kiwi there last week. It was their Christmas festival thingy. Basically, all the workers dress up like elves, and they have a Santa Claus there, and some of the animals are dressed up. You can feed the reindeer and look at Santa's workshop and all that stuff. It was kind of cool. However, because we went in the winter, some of the animals weren't around. I think they have a giant tortoise that wasn't cool with the cold. They had this giant fucking porcupine that I was dying to see because I like porcupines. I don't know why, but I just do. And he was locked up and you couldn't even see him. Same thing with basically all of their birds. Besides the cranes were still out. The cranes were fucking beautiful animals. I was watching the way they walked, and I thought, you know what, man, totally they're dinosaurs. Oh, they also had, were they emus? I think they were emus. Yeah, they're kind of like ostriches, but like their weird cousin. They're black furs with their giant blue and red faces. They look like fucking velociraptors, and they make like weird growling vibration noises. Pretty cool, like an alien. Eggnog. But it was really nice. We had a fun time. Everything was massively overpriced, but it was still a fun time. They had just the cutest lemurs. They had these big chunker tigers that you just wanted to get in the cage and rub their belly. I mean, them disemboweling you would be worth it the few seconds leading up to that as you're scratching their stomach and listening to them purr before they open your guts out and start eating you while you're alive. And the reindeer were cool. So that was a big selling point. You are given this big bag of diced apples, and you walk along this path, and these reindeers come right up to you. And, you can chuck the apples at them and stuff, and you can feed them, and it was pretty cool. And then I had some apples left over, and so we went back through the park and went to some of the other animals and fed them. Oh, they had the cutest little wallabies. I just wanted to get in the cage and hug them and spoon the wallabies. They're so cute. I love wallabies because I grew up watching Rocko's Modern Life. They had some alpacas. They had some really stupid deer that were really, like, not social at all. I was throwing apples and they wouldn't even move. I'm like, you're too good for my apples. Whatever. And what else did they have? You couldn't feed the tigers, obviously, or the wolf, or the mountain lion they have there. But all in all, it was pretty fun. So if you're looking for something holiday related, and you're in the area and you don't feel like going into like Seattle or something to do some stupid shit, or Bellevue, go to Issaquah, go to the Cougar Mountain Zoo, see what happens. I also took her to Gilman Village afterwards for lunch. We went to that Greek place. It was okay. It fucked up both our stomachs, but the food was good. I can't say if it was the food that did it or if it was the coffee I had afterwards. I don't know. But either way, it was a good all-around day. And speaking of the holidays, it's coming up next week. I'm going to go see my mother. I'm going to go see my father. I may go see some friends. It's going to be Thanksgiving 2.0. I'm going to eat so much food, drink so much booze. I'm going to gain all this weight just in time for the second month of my weight loss challenge to start. I'm going to be a whale in a matter of weeks. I may have to move closer to the ocean. Anyways. But yeah, with that, I think we can wrap up here. I love y'all. Take it sleazy. I hope you guys have a good Christmas. Try not to talk about politics or religion or anything stupidly divisive. You know your family. You know your friends. You know what their touchy points are. Don't start shit. Now, if they start shit and they're trying to egg you on, try to be the bigger person and say, nah, I'm not going to go down to that level. But if they persist, you may have to throw down some knowledge. So I hope that doesn't happen. But if it does happen, just be prepared to raise your voice at a family function, because unfortunately, that tends to be the norm these days. Oh God, have we learned nothing? But anyway, take it sleazy. I love you guys. And a ho ho ho. And who knows, maybe I'll catch you up before Christmas. Later.
This is the concierge, sir.
I knew it was you. I could smell you getting off the elevator. You was here last night, too, wasn't you?
Yes, sir. I was.
You was here. And you was smooching with my brother.
I'm afraid you're mistaken, sir.
Don't give me that. You've been smooching with everybody. Snuffy, Al, Leo, Little Mo with the gimpy leg, Cheeks, Bony Bob, Cliff.
Oh, Tim Curry.
It's a lie.
I could go on forever, baby.
I'm terribly sorry, sir, but I'm afraid you're mistaken.
Oh, Home Alone 2.
We're looking for a young man.
All right. I believe you. But my Tommy gun don't. Get down on your knees and tell me you love me.
Knees?
I love Tim Curry, man. Hope he lives forever. Poor bastard. He's gonna die soon, I know it.
I love you.
You gotta do better than that. I love you. Maybe I'm off my hinges, but I believe you. That's why I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna give you to the count of 3 to get your lousy, lying, low-down, four-flushing carcass out my door. 1, 2. 3. Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
Oh, those gunshots makes you think that that's a Christmas party at a local high school. Oh, anyway, with that, we're done. Merry Christmas, everybody.